So I will present first the first speaker, Nükhet Okutan Davletov. She completed her PhD in 2020 at the very prestigious Hacettepe University Institute of Turkish Studies. And she accomplished the project of artistic reinterpreting the death masks of the Tashtik period, which is, for us who don't know about it, 2nd century BC to 5th century AD, an archaeological culture unique to Khakassia. The photo exhibition of this project, Yenisei Death Mask, first met with academic students and art lovers in January 2017 with the support of Hacettepe University Institute of Turkish Studies. In the following 3 years, she held a conference titled Shamanism and Khakas Death Masks, Turks 2000 years ago in nearly 10 universities and CSOs. Together with her husband, Dr. Timur Davletov, who is also with us now, who is member of the Khakas, one of the indigenous Turkic peoples of Siberia, she translated and prepared Bilgiler Sözü, Proverbs and Idioms of the Khakas Turks. This book was published in 2018. Also, Kün Sara Khan, the epic of the Khakas woman in 2021, and her monograph, Khakas Türkelerinde, Shamanism ve Ölüm. Sorry if I do not pronounce it correctly, but it's Shamanism and Death in the Khakas Turks, based on her doctoral dissertation. It was published in 2021. And she also edited Timur Davletov's book, Shaman Masaları, Üç Alem Gezgini, Shaman Tales, The Traveler of the Three Realms, and inspired by this work, she developed a project to photograph the heroes of Turkic mythology. The project was introduced by the Magma magazine in 2019. She is currently teaching undergraduate and graduate courses on shamanism, Turkic runic inscriptions, pre-Islamic Turkic culture, Turkic and Greek mythologies at Cappadocia University in Turkey, where she started to work as an assistant professor in the 2021-21. So her topic will be a shamanistic interpretation on human-animal relations in Khakas Fables. So please, Nükhet, you have 20 to 25 minutes. We are very ready to hear about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for inviting us, and thank you everyone for previous talks and for coming today. I'm just going to share my screen. Please give me a moment. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a presentation that Dr. Timur Davletov and I have worked on together. We are going to discuss the effects of monotheistic religions and changing political regimes on human-animal or human-nature relations in the fables of the Khakas, one of the indigenous Turkic peoples of Siberia. And of course, we will try to explain the shamanic values, where the shamanic values are in these tales. You know that Siberia is regarded as the locus classicus of shamanism, and it is known that the ancestors of the Khakas people living in the Khakas Republic, right here in the present-day Russian Federation, have been making animal depictions since Paleolithic times. And since the Okutan period, it is an early Bronze Age culture, by the way, we are seeing more abstract and more complex compositions with zoomorphic features. On the other hand, the design called animal style, in which specific animals depicted individually in groups or right here you can see some examples, also emerged in those lands during the Karasuk period and produced its richest examples in the Tagar, or as it is commonly known, Scythian or Hunnic period. These depictions show that people in Siberia and Inner Asia were in close contact with animals, and that they depicted their shamanic philosophy through the animal world, and that they saw themselves as equals to them. These tangible depictions continued to be seen during the ancient Turkic era. In the medieval runic inscriptions from the same region, there is also a significant use of animal metaphors and names of people, I mean anthroponyms based on animals like Çoçık Böre, the boar wolf, or Tölböre, the wolf descent, just like the name Björn in Scandinavian culture, right? And these personal names are related with this shamanic mindset, since humans are seen as one of the links in the chain of life. People can name their children or themselves after animals. And the Dede Korkut stories, which preserved the motifs of the shamanic period, even though they were written down in the Islamic age, can be given as an example. In one of the stories, this incident is told. There is a very strong bull among the Oghuz, a Turkic tribe or group. The bull is so strong that several men hold him with chains by his horns, and people have fun watching this bull's wrestling every year. One day, when they bring the bull again, a few children are playing somewhere and forget to run, actually. The bull escapes from the men and runs towards the children. Some of the children manage to escape, but the protagonist of the story cannot. And this child's name has not been given yet. Apparently, this fight with the animal will be a heroic act, a heroic deed, and that will allow the child to earn a name. Indeed, the boy defeated this huge bull by killing it with his bare hands, and the boy was given the name Boğaç, which means like a bull or little bull in Turkic. In fact, given this name means that the child turns into the rival he defeated, even if the rival is an animal. This is important because in shamanic philosophy, the fact that the opponent is an animal doesn't mean that he or she is inferior to a human. And animals and nature itself are seen as relatives of human beings. In fact, the myths describing the birth of various tribes and clans in Turkic mythology, animals such as wolves, deer, bears, and swans are regarded as the ancestors of the lineage. For example, according to Siberian Turkic peoples, the bears and humans are one of the closest relatives. And for example, this shamanic piece is from the National Museum of the Republic of Tuva, and it says the bear is the ancestor of man. So that is why the Khakas call the bear Abba, Abba, which means father, and Apsakh, grandfather. There is even kinship through trees among Khakas. For example, the sacred tree of one tribe may be birch, and the ancestral tree of another may be oak. And these families sharing the same tree are considered relatives. These may sound like primitive beliefs or some nice exotic details, but at this point it is necessary to remember consanguineous marriage. You know, this type of marriage is traditional in most communities of North Africa, Middle East, and West Asia, including Turkey. However, the Turkic peoples of Siberia and Inner Asia are very strict on this issue, and these kind of marriages are forbidden because all those kinship relations in shamanism also ensure that exogamy is guaranteed. So it is possible to state that all these concrete depictions and linguistic or folkloristic material can only be explained by religion, that is, by shamanism, in the case of the Khakas and Turkic culture in particular. Indeed, contrary to the common belief in monotheistic Abrahamic religions, in shamanism, nature and animals are not created for mankind and are not considered to be in people's service. In addition, in Khakas epics, animals can speak the language of the humans, help the heroes in battles, call for support when he or she is injured, and even go with them to the underworld after death, a true friendship. And archaeology also confirms that people, and especially horses, were buried together. Like this woman who died more than 1,000 years ago, and she was buried with her horse in today's Mongolia. And this one is from Altai. By the way, this shamanic funeral practice was difficult to quit for the Turkic people, despite their conversion to monotheistic religions, because it is evident from its continuation in the Islamic and Christian periods. For example, it is known that Orhan Gazi's son, Orhan was the second ruler of the Ottoman dynasty, by the way. His son, Süleyman Pasha, who died in the 14th century, was buried with his own horse, and the horse still lies next to him in today's Turkey, in Çanakkale. For this reason, due to the influence of the Tsarist and Soviet periods, there are social, economic, and religious criticisms in the fables of the Khakas, right? However, the traces of the egalitarian shamanic philosophy at the basis of the culture can still be seen. For example, Özkü, Aba, Hür, the fable, the goat, the bear, and the wolf, emphasizes the importance of being fearless and wise. However, the goat was raised like a human child by an old and childless couple, and this goat knows the language of humans. This should be a motif originating from shamanism because the myths about animals raising people or people raising animals as their babies are tens of thousands of years old in Inner Asia. And this tale is in a book published in 1960. And in the same book, there's another tale called The Man and the Leopard. And in this tale, not surprisingly, the human is superior to animal world. Here's the tale. I want to read our translation quickly. Once upon a time, there were very strong animals, but the strongest of them was the leopard. No animal could wrestle with him. One day, the moose, which the Khakas called Pulan, said to the leopard, "There is no animal that can handle you. You would better wrestle with a human." "Where can I find a human?" asked the leopard. "When you cross the steppe, you will see a small stream. A road passes near that stream. Lie down by the road and wait. Human will come," said the Pulan, the moose. The leopard went to the place he was told and lay down on the side of the road and waited. Finally, he saw something coming and asked, "What are you?" "I am a human," replied the other. "If you are a human, will you wrestle with me?" asked the leopard. "I am a small human. I can only wrestle with birds. I'm not yet an adult," said the human. "What is an adult?" asked the leopard. 30 or 40-year-olds, said the small one. The leopard returned to where he was lying, and after a while he saw something again approaching. He stood up and asked again, "What are you?" "I am a human," said the other. The leopard wanted to wrestle again, but the other one said, "I am too old. I can only wrestle with fish. Lie here and wait. Someone 30 or 40 years old will come." At that moment, someone was really passing by. The leopard asked, "What are you?" again. "I am a 40-year-old human," said the other. "There is no animal that can wrestle with me. Will you?" asked the leopard. "Okay, but there is no one among people who can compete with me," said the human. "It's okay, let's do it. But how do we compete?" said the leopard. "Let's spit in each other's faces. You go first," said the human. The leopard did so, but could not knock the human down. "Your turn is over, now it's my turn," said the human. And while he was about to take out his gun or rifle and shoot the leopard, the animal ran away. But the skin on his forehead peeled off. Even when the human spat, "I lost my mind. If he catches me, I would not be able to walk around because of my shame," thought the leopard. While running, the bear called out to the leopard, "The leader of the animals, what are you afraid of that makes you run away like this? Are you afraid of humans? Show me where they are." The leopard lifted the bear up by his neck to show him the human, but the bear was suffocated. "When bears see a human, they scare to death and their hearts stop," thought the leopard. That moment, the wolf shouted, "Leopard, the chief of all the animals, why are you so afraid of humans? Show me too." The leopard lifted the wolf up to show the human, but he was also suffocated. Then the leopard thought that wolves also die from fear when they see humans, so it ran into the forest. This tale was compiled in 1959, but there is another variant of this tale, and it was recorded in 1888. So we can see the mentality of both the Tsarist and Soviet periods here that claims that man is more intelligent than animals. But if we assume that the main idea of the story is that human beings are a harmful species that cheats on animals and nature, then we can say that this is basically a shamanic message about exploiting nature and animals. In another tale called The Bati and the Snake, Again, human is rich, evil, and superior to animal world. Here, there was a rich man. One day, while he was in the forest, a fire broke up, and a snake asked this man for help to get rid of the fire. If you help me, I will teach you the language of animals, he said. The human took the snake to his bosom until they passed through the fire, and after that, the man told the snake to come out, but the snake wrapped around the man's neck and refused to come down. The human asked, I saved you from death. Why do you return good with evil? The snake replied, where did you hear that? Paylar, I mean the rich, return goodness with goodness. The human thought about it and couldn't remember an occasion when he had returned good for good. Let's go to the bank of the river and ask the first three animals we meet. If they too cannot remember an occasion when I returned goodness for goodness, you can bite me. First, they met an old horse and told him the story. The old horse said, that's right, when I was young, I had a rich owner and he made me work hard. When I became old and useless, he threw me away, and now I don't have teeth even, and I'm about to die from hunger, he said. Then they met a dog. He too said, when I was young, I used to bring prey for my master, but when I got old, he threw me out. So animals were complaining about humans. Finally, they met a fox. The fox told the snake to get off the man's neck so the snake could bite him properly. When he landed on the ground, the fox secretly signaled to the human, and the human, realizing the plan, killed the snake with his stick. The fox helped the human because he thought that he would return this favor. But when the human saw the beautiful tail of the fox, he wanted to hunt it and took out his rifle. Just as he was about to shoot, the fox ran away and told, I will tell everyone how the rich return favors. Since then, it has been said that paydan tanыс bol, nanında paltılık bol. Whoever befriends the rich must have an axe with him. This tale first compiled by Professor Nikolai Fedorovich Katanov in 1907. However, this tale we are talking about was recorded in 1951, a huge gap. So again, we can see the mentality of both historical periods, as in the previous one. But the idea that the rich are bad is, of course, a product of Soviet mentality. You know, people were labeled as rich elements and they were sent into exile just because they had few animals. For instance, here you can see the photo of the grandfather of my husband, the other author of this presentation, Timur Davletov, and his mother's grandfather, Payanapsakh, was exiled because he was rich, but not that rich. We cannot think that he was a bad and rich element because he had two extra horses or a leather coat for the winter, right? In the same books, there are tales that demonizing shamans. Shamans are portrayed in these stories as greedy and useless or malicious, and this behavior is, of course, a reflection of atheist propaganda. Because when you think about shamanism, which has a history spanning thousands of years in Siberia, you realize that it is illogical to claim that people living there in the center of shamanism view shamans as evil figures. Nonsense. So, of course, the political environment affects these texts, as I said before. For example, Hesiod's The Hawk and the Nightingale. You know, it is seen as the first appearance of the beast fable in Western literature. It is said that Hesiod's fable is a concrete example of the preceding Iron Age vision of a world without justice. But we think that the religious tradition in which the fable or tale was produced should also be taken into consideration. For example, in some articles, it is even stated that in those verses of Hesiod, Zeus and the god, Zeus the god and mortal kings may be mentioned rather than the kings and the poor common people. So we can say that the rich, powerful, and evil characters in Khakas Fables are essentially the product of religions and political regimes that carry men's desire to dominate nature and animals. Because according to the Soviet discourse, the nature was meaningless unless it was exploited for human needs. For example, this poster includes slogans such as, we are opening the treasures of nature. the treasure of rich Siberia will be ours. We will change the bed of the rivers. Yeah. However, when you look for the shamanic philosophy, the mountains, rivers, trees, lakes are sacred. But of course, those indigenous people are not talking about protecting nature with an atheist approach. They are doing this out of religious concerns. Those rivers and forests and all have their own gods. And for this reason, people avoid harming nature. More precisely, they are just not avoid, but afraid of harming or wasting. Therefore, we believe that it is through fables, tales, and epic stories that it will be possible to analyze what humanity can learn from cultures that living in harmony with nature and animal world, and that these pieces of oral poetry are of vital value. Thank you for listening.